How can you do all that needs done in life and still pursue your desire to learn French or the guitar or grow a plant or make art? You can't put a fiddle under your pillow and wake up playing it. Though how cool would that be? But one thing we can do, no matter how chaotic and overwhelming life can be, is know that every tiny small motion in the direction of those endeavors really do matter. And not only that, they add up over time with great momentum. Join me, Fain, as I interview painters and gardeners, designers and musicians, photographers and cooks, creative livers of any kind who have somehow, in the middle of it all, continued on their creative paths, no matter what. This is Fain House Radio, and I'm so glad you're here.
My name is Greta Dietrich, and I am an artist here in Western North Carolina. I consider myself multidisciplinary, so a lot of my work is paintings mixed with embroidery and metalsmithing. So.
And when you're working in your studio, how do you juggle the multi-passionate side? Like, does it depend on the project, or do you just go with your gut? Like, today I want to sew, or today I feel like painting.
I wish I could be more like that. I tend to be, plan things out, and sometimes I just say, I'm just going to sit and do some weird embroidery or something because I want to be impulsive. But it's usually when I sit down, I've drawn it 2 or 3 times and made mock-ups of it, and I know it pretty well. I've dreamt into it quite a bit. So I think that lends itself, like I always have a plan with a piece. And because the nature, I been doing a lot of embroidery on wood. There's a lot of pre-planning to that.
Yeah.
'Cause I'll paint a whole piece, but I have to always have in mind like how the layout of the embroidery is going to go. So on that level, it is easy for me to start and stop because I always kind of know where I'm going.
And do you have feelings of like, I'm finally so sucked in, and then a baby's like, mama, mama, mama?
Oh, it can be so painful for sure. And I'll try to squeeze those moments for everything that it's worth, unless of course there's like danger or, some situation is at hand. Of course I'll stop, but I squeeze those moments, try to, for every last ounce of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you were talking a little bit earlier about being in the middle of making and then having kids, because you have a younger one and a teenager, and how being interrupted plays a part in like your creativeness and creating.
I mean, very often it's funny. Yeah. I have situations where, I really can't be too serious with it. Like I love diving in, and I do relish the moments I can have completely alone. I'm like, oh my God, I have 3 hours. Like what? That's crazy. Uninterrupted. And the kids aren't even around and I don't have to worry. But when they're lingering around or everybody's at home, very often they're especially my littlest one, he's 5 and he'll be with me, and he loves to draw on everything. And that is at times included my finished paintings. But very often I'll be having like, puppet shows, and like, you're like in a realm of play with them and you're working. So your mind is doing all these weird things, just to make it work. So
yeah, because there's something deep inside you that wants to do it so badly, you are going to do it anyway.
And yeah, you do weird games. You're like, go draw this, or you're playing like hide the something in your studio, or like you get into weird, your drawing games, or like they're in the corner cutting up all your old sketches with scissors. You turn around, you're like, oh my God, not those ones, I guess. Yeah, I'm looking at the floor right now at a little bit of that.
So you were talking about having a painting ready to go and coming back and a kid has painted on it.
Yeah, or like taking a hammer to it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, see?
Which I finished at that point. I'm like, I can't even look at this right now. This is like 3 months of painting.
Oh my God.
But yeah, I'll, I pointed out when I took it to the guy, I was like, you see this teal that's like, the only teal that was by my, my 3-year-old at the time. So I'm like, that's just what you get. It's part of the piece. It was part of my process.
So like your kids have become part of your process?
My kids have become part of my process. Yeah. And very often or not, you'll turn around the backs of my paintings. That's what I ended up doing. And I would just let them paint and draw on the backs of my paintings.
Yeah.
So when people buy my paintings, there's like, paintings and drawings from a 3-year-old. I'm like, hey, you got the front, he got the back. You got a double painting. 2 for the price of 1.
And hey, who knows? He'll grow up and be famous one day and everybody's going to be looking for the back of Greta paintings and they're going to be in the auctions.
Oh my gosh. So funny. So funny. Yeah.
What do you feel like it is inside of you that wants to make so badly that even when it's so uncomfortable and frustrating to have a busy adult life, that you're just going to keep doing it?
It's because the dream is insatiable. I mean, I don't know how it is for anybody else, but I only reach a point of satiation with my creativity just for like when it's done. It's for a little bit and then it's like a little bit of a void and then I get a little excited and I'm like, now what? And so it's the feeling of what's next. It's never satiated and I want to keep growing and doing more. And I don't know how it is for anybody else, but I'm always dreaming into things. I'm always finding inspiration in everything, from all the, from folklore and ethnobotany to, different cultures all over the world. I'm always just reading and looking into things and drawing from it. And then you're just like inspired, I mean, often I'll be rotating on several projects at the same time. I prefer it that way. I can't just have one. I like 3, 4, 5. Then I can really get into like a momentum. I feel like they feed off each other. So yeah.
Definitely. I do exactly the same thing. And then when you feel a teeny bit like stuck or a stopping point, you could just turn to the next one and keep moving.
Yes.
Keep moving.
And they kind of like teach you about each other. I like to do a group, and they're all kind of related. Yeah.
Well, do you feel sad when one sells and you have to break up the group?
I do.
I do sometimes.
I can't lie. I'm like, can we just like they just travel together? Can I like call you up? I wish like all the owners I could be like, can I call you up in 5 years? We'll just have a tea party. You can bring all, everyone bring their painting. We'll just have them all back together again. Have the gang back.
I love that idea. I fall in love with my originals. And so I usually don't sell them. I had 2 shows and everything sold. And it meant 2 things. One, that my prices were too low. And then it also was confirmation people liked it. And I was just getting going. And that meant a lot to me. And I needed that encouragement. And I still feel like heartbroken that those paintings are gone, It
is. It's really pulls at my heartstrings. Some of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of them happy they don't. I mean, I put a higher price tag on ones I don't want to sell. And sometimes,
yeah,
sometimes I do that. But yeah, it's a part of yourself, you're putting a part of your spirit into it,
Yeah. And it's like good practice to let go, especially if that's what we're wanting to do as a career. Like we got to face that. And at the same time, it's kind of there a little bit. It's like, but I think that's special too, because once again, when you buy handmade art or paintings or even hearing someone's music or whatever, there's that part of them's in there, which is why we're interested in the first place. And
it's exactly it. We're pulling something from somewhere else and we're weaving it all together. And that is your own unique magic. And I don't know. And there's something like I do like making cliche prints for that very reason, because you can kind of feel it. I'm like, I'm going to keep making, and then you're like, I'm done. I don't want to make any more of that one. It doesn't feel, it's like kind of tapped out. We're good, but yeah, I like to do that for that reason. Cause it kind of spreads out that feeling. It's like seeds. It's like more seeds of that original piece,
Totally. Yeah. I ended up doing cards and prints as the main thing because I'm trying to face this issue. And I love your prints. I was looking at your Etsy shop. I just love them. I want them all. One of each, please.
Oh, thank you, Annie Fain. I'm touched. And there's a lot that's not on there right now. I wish it was more full, but
yeah. Have you had like a teacher, mentor, someone who came along either recently or in your youth that found you or you found them that like has helped you on your way?
There is. I call her my mentor when I was 21, kind of at the end of art school. And it's funny, I met her I put up a flyer for gardening. She ended up calling me and I went over there and I was out there gardening and she's like, do you want to come in for some tea? And then, she was a writer and we hit it off right away. And I started coming over more. We'd split the day up from gardening to writing. And then it went in, she's like, do you want to come into my studio? And she had a studio in the back and she was a fiber artist. And we still talk to this day all the time. And she definitely encouraged me. So that was really magical. And yeah, there's just been people along the way that you have magic encounters with at just the right time.
Yeah.
You being one of them.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah. Super, super magical. So
do you feel like that what you're inspired by or what's helped you, like even this mentor, was it that it was someone you could talk to when you were having a hard time keeping going? Or was it just that you got to watch her in action and it gave you permission to be in action?
I think both. I was so incredibly shy about showing anyone my artwork. Having gone to art school, I was just like, I was super introverted. And so I watched her do it for a while. And then I was like, oh, she's got this and it's not that hard. And so I did it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
What were you shy about?
I think I was shy about sharing my inner world. Maybe because I wasn't sure how to choose the right words, or I think just in general being seen.
Yeah.
So I was so private, and I still am. But what I found is that the people that gravitate towards my work show incredible amounts of gratitude, and more times than not will say similar things like, wow, this really like puts words to what I was trying to express, or like I see it aids people and helps people and starts really interesting conversation. And so I see it as part of my work. It's kind of like me being in service to the world,
Totally. I love that. And I think a lot of artists wonder if I'm not a lawyer or a doctor, am I, valid in what I offer in service to the world, the way you just said it. And we know we are, but sometimes we get other messages, whether it's society.
We certainly do. We certainly don't see it as something that's valid, but I've grown to see that being a human is so much more it's so much more than this like prescription, that we're shown. And these different realms and dimensions of being human need attention as well. And they need an outlet in a conversation. And I always keep that in mind when I'm exploring a new body of work or what have you, is like, how does this speak to humans? Like, how is this going to show up for people? And I sit with that a lot and kind of hold that as an intention when I'm doing my work. It's the poetic. I think there's a lot to poetry, and there's this poetic nuance that feeds the human spirit, in a deep, deep way that we all need. And we, especially these days where everything is electronic and we are so extracted in this world, I think doing art can be a way of coming home from all that and like getting settled and getting grounded and cultivating something that is other and bigger, and weaving that all into something that is Yeah, I don't know. I can't quite reach it with words right now, but I think I've said it.
Yeah, I'm
in
totally
some sort of way.
Yeah, I'm with you. I feel like something that we both have in common in our work is like all this celestial, spiritual kind of feeling. And it's really hard to say the words. I mean, it's hard to say words to it. And like, it's a fun idea to think that a piece of art on the wall that speaks to you is like a touchstone, a visual touchstone. And that like, I always think about, you're saying poetry, and this is something I think that you and I both really jive on, is almost like, I imagine I'm painting the poem, or it's like the language that without words or something.
I totally understand. Yeah.
It is hard to describe.
It is. But we can visit there when we do, I really like to dream into my work and live in it, and so whatever you're bringing down and bringing into your work, whatever you're invoking is, I don't know. I just see it as a useful act,
Definitely.
Like there's so much more to being human than, and there's just so many levels. And I think it speaks on another realm, another level.
Yeah. And when you're talking about dreaming into your work, are there actual things you do, like take a nap, take a walk? How do you get in that place in your head?
Dreaming. I've always been a big dreamer ever since I was a kid, nighttime dreaming and daydreaming. And I find that the nighttime for me, everyone is asleep, and not just my surrounding, people, but the neighborhood. And that quiet is something that really feeds me. And so I'm up, that's my time. I go to sleep really early and I'll get up, and have my time and really, really feel into pieces, and then can really just be still. And I love the nighttime world, Yeah, that definitely feeds my work.
Do you write your dreams down, or like you have a way of capturing the inspiration when it comes? Yeah,
I will capture it for sure. Writing is definitely an incredible net, I guess is metaphor. I find that I will write about a piece, and sometimes it's like a song, and I know that a lot of this might seem abstract, but sometimes it will be like a song inside,
Yeah.
And that if I write it down, I'm catching it,
Totally.
And so in that way, it's like it originates in a living way, It is like fishing.
I love that idea.
Painting.
Yeah. Because you're talking about inspiration coming from all different places. And I love the idea of fishing, because you have animals. Do you still have animals? I know you have in your past.
Yeah, I'm just chickens right now, and dog and some cats.
Yeah. And various other stories of your past. And then there has been blueberry farming and gardening and people passing through, children of young ages. Don't you feel kind of like, in a way, the capturing of the dreams and inspiration, it's like a muscle you can strengthen, almost like when we're ready and looking for it, and we know it's like the fodder for our creativity, that we like look at it all, you look at it things differently, kind of? Like, have you had an idea strike you when you were like feeding your Angora rabbits?
Yes. Yeah, it will come. Yeah. And definitely walking, like moving my body. Sometimes a sound will trigger it, or music definitely stimulates that. You'll be working on a piece and listening to a song, and then it's just like, whoa, I know what this needs. But yeah, and sometimes it will come, a painting will kind of be fully formed, and I'm, those pretty astounding moments. And And then others will just be kind of archetypal, which is really wonderful too. So they come when they come, you know, and there's periods where I didn't paint for 18 months. And then come December, I just started kind of getting into that fishing. Like I just felt that stream come back, and it went away for a while, and I had to be patient. I was like, oh God, this is the longest it's ever been. And I definitely felt a loss, but I knew it's a living process.
Yeah.
And it's a relationship with self and with, you know, your higher self and this other thing. So you have to be patient sometimes, and it has its own personality and season.
Yeah.
And so now it's like definitely, you know, keeping my little notebook and pen always to catch.
When you were younger and you had the dry spells, did you wonder if it went away? And now, you know, now that you've had more time to be on the planet doing your work, that when there's a dry spell, it's like part of the process and you kind of have faith in it? Or do you, in the middle of it, feel like, oh no, it went away?
I've come to peace with it definitely when I was older, but I also think when I was younger, before I had kids, I could invoke it easier because I had time to like play around, like play with music or like be spontaneous or I knew things that like I could kind of like stimulate it, but it's definitely difficult. And when it's not there, or if it's taking a little break, you know, it went on vacation or something.
Yeah.
I'm just going to let it go on vacation and trust that it will come back, and I can focus on other things because I have plenty of other things to focus on.
Yeah, you're not bored. You're definitely not bored. That's not a problem that exists in your world.
No, I don't, you know, I don't know what that really means, but with that means that, you know, you're always creating and always working and always producing something. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. How do you feel about, or what's the place in your world for you in your work, which could include gardening or anything? How do the small bits fold in, or okay, here's what I'm trying to say. Sometimes people will stop creative endeavors, whether it's money or not, just a way to enrich their own life because they feel like there's not room, but their heart is hurting because actually they really want to still be doing it. And really, if we had faith in 15 minutes here and there, over time, it accumulates and we've been changed.
Yeah.
So, and that's basically what you are doing. And like, especially folding it in with having kids and animals and, you know, cooking good food and living the natural life and all those things. I think it's really hard. And sometimes maybe on the outside, it looks like total chaos. Like we don't have a schedule or a plan. And then other times we're like, okay, I don't have exactly a plan. I just know to constantly rotate through the loop of all of those things. How do the small bits work for you?
Oh, there's so much there. What's coming? My uncle, he's a wood carver, and we talk about creative process a lot. And he told me this one story. It went something like this, where, you know, you're sitting there staring off, and your neighbor's like, what are you doing? Aren't you supposed to be working? And, you know, the old man in this story was like, I am working. And we talk about how that space of kind of like contemplating or dreaming into something, you're like, some people watch TV, and for me, I watch my paintings or whatever, you know. And I don't know if this is really answering your question, but that's just what came to me right away. So yeah, you can ask me again.
Well,
if I got off track, that's what came to me, is that there's just this part of us that, and I know what you mean. Like sometimes I look at myself from the outside and I'm like, holy cow, there's so many things going and how, but I do, you know, you're always producing. I have a little something over here and a little something over here, and then it's lunchtime, and then, you know, stuff is always rotating, and you have to just sometimes be impulsive and go get another task done before you go and heat up the water to make the soup. And then you come back and you're,
yeah. Yeah. So it's like you're folding it. You're like folding it in with the rest. You're just folding it in, like folding in the egg whites.
Yeah. It all goes into the paintings.
Yeah. And
it all goes into the artwork. It's all, it's part of the recipe.
Yeah, totally. Because sometimes people are curious, okay, there's the painting, but you're also gardening and being a mom and all the other things. So all the other stuff is like life enrichment, and we should still be doing that too. Of course, we reach a cap. You can only do so much in a day.
Yeah.
But like for those other things, do you tell yourself, okay, I garden in the mornings and I paint in the afternoon? Or do you have anything like that? Or is it more like, oh, it's a window is open? Because sometimes I'll be like, a window's open, but I'm paralyzed because there's so many things. I'm like,
oh my gosh,
one should I choose?
It's both, Annie Fain. It's like, I'll be like today, like everyone has been home for 5 weeks. And then the little one has a little like play group school that he goes to. And there's nobody in the house. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to like scrub the kitchen and like do all this laundry and like just so I will feel good. But then I'm like, wait a second, like, or you can just like sit at your desk and be wide open, So it's both. And you're always doing a dance. And I definitely get caught in the, I think it's like kind of poisonous in a way. Like, when am I going to be done cleaning my house? Or when is everything going to look perfect? and you have to stop that. It's actually pretty much nonsense.
Because it's never over. The dirt.
It's never over, and there's always going to be dust and dishes.
Yeah.
And it's not what it's about, keeping everything perfectly clean. So you just have to allow yourself and give yourself permission to budge in and be creative.
And to sometimes choose that thing over the dishes.
Oh my gosh, absolutely.
I'm curious. Sometimes I reach a point of such high frustration because I want so badly to be in my studio working. And right now I'm homeschooling both boys, like took them out of school and everything because we live with elders right here at our house. So it's going to be this way for the year. So it's me and them, and it's a sweet time, but it's also like too much sweet time in one dose.
So much sweetness.
Yeah. And like we have other parts of ourselves as mother that want to be like doing and creating and, and I think sometimes moms will feel guilty to want that too, or to want to be alone or to want to be quiet. But in that quietness, or like the part of us that's touched when we're painting or creating, it's so healing. And it's like a filling back up. And then when we go back to the sweetness of life with children, family, adult responsibility, we're more resilient. But it's hard sometimes to deal with the frustration.
Yeah.
In the moment.
Yeah.
So what do? Do you punch pillows or?
No, I feel it and I let myself feel it. But it's also like, I will do little tiny hand things, like tiny little embroidery, or like weird stuff like, hey, do you want to do a drawing? Or like, I will read out loud and allow myself time to think about something while I'm reading, which I've gotten really good at.
Wow.
You're just reading. I'll be like, I can think about something else while I'm reading. You just have to go with it. And sometimes they'll go play and you can draw or write, or sometimes you don't. And I think this pressure of time, or like you're losing an opportunity, can also, I don't like using the word toxic, but it's like, and it's not poisonous. I don't know why it's like lack of a better word, but it's like, I do fall into the mind of like anxiousness because I want to do something, and frustration because I so badly want to see something, you want to bring something into the material realm, but you just have to know that you'll be able to, and that this too shall pass, and you are here, and there is a sweetness, and maybe it's so sweet because you know, there'll be a time when you're not going to have it, and you will so remember that sweetness. So don't worry, there's going to be plenty of opportunity to create, and you don't have to put all that pressure on yourself, because sometimes it can't happen, you know, for a lot of reasons. Like, you have other responsibilities. So I don't know, what keeps coming to me is like, really try to be gentle and be mindful of how you talk to yourself. And for God's sakes, keep a notebook. Yeah, it can be your best friend. Like I always have them. I have one in my bag that I go into town with in case something comes or I need to write it down, and I have one by my bed. And you're getting it written down. You're sketching it out. It's there. You caught it, and it just might not be the right time, but it will.
Yeah, I love that. I remember when I had like a 2-year-old and a newborn and a full-time job that included nights, and it was so hard. I can't believe I even barely survived it. I'm still recovering. And
I understand.
I'm like, and I was talking to my mom about the creative. There are all kinds of being creative. I mean, marketing and architecture, all these things are creative, you know. I had other creative type things that I wanted to be doing so badly, and my heart was hurting because I was like under this mountain. She said the same thing, like, have your sketchbook notebook with you, your idea collecting right now. So you see a book, talk to a person, and it means you're still in motion. It means that create and watch muscle is still like flexing. Yep. And then it's
still being productive.
Yeah.
It's still producing when you're sketching.
Because sometimes, like you saying, like if you got a slew of newborn babies, like it's just not going to work at all. It's not going to work. You got to wait. And I remember having a feeling of like, I have to be patient, but I'm tired of being patient. Of course, you also love having your babies. It's more about like, it ends up a balance. You kind of want both, but sometimes life swings more one way or more the other way, you know, and there's like good and bad to both. And I love that tip. I think it's a good tip for everyone, having the notebook, like anytime something comes in, no matter how busy or unbusy that you are. And then ta-da, you just wrote yourself your own little reference book. You can just flip.
You've got so many ideas. You're going to kill it when you have 5 minutes.
Exactly.
Yourself.
I love talking to you so much. And
yes.
Me too. I want to do it again more and soon. And one reason I thought of you to do this was good old Instagram, but I could just see you're doing some things, you know, and knowing that you're also a mama juggling other parts of your life too. And just is so great hearing the stories. And I'm curious if you have anything else that you wanted to say or add.
Well, this is a great idea, and it's been such a pleasure being talking to you and seeing you. It's been too long, so I would definitely love to do this again, talk more. I just think keep dreaming, don't stop, and you'll, keep doing a little something every day.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Well, happy welcoming the springtime.
I know. Same to you.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
If you would like to be in touch or have someone you would love to hear interviewed, email me at afainhouse@gmail.com. I also hope that you're inspired to subscribe to this podcast. New episodes come out every Tuesday. If you would like to watch these interviews in video form and are curious about the happenings of my little business called Fain House, where I paint and make art prints and gift cards for my watercolor originals, I'd love for you to sign up for my email list. When you do, you'll get a coupon for 10% off a one-time purchase in my Etsy shop and first dibs on my annual limited edition calendar printing. You'll also be granted access to our free private Facebook group, which is the one spot you can watch these interviews. If that all sounds fun to you, go to your web browser and type bit.ly/FainHouse to sign up. That's with a capital F and a capital H in Fain House. This is not a weekly newsletter, but rather a list of folks who are interested in hearing from me time to time. I'm Annie Fain Barrelon. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll leave you with a quote for the day. Imagination is everything. It is the preview of life's coming attractions. Albert Einstein.